If you all are standing in the back, if you'll please find a chair and join us. Okay. With that being said, we do have two commissioners joining us via WebEx. So the current time is 9:02, and it is Thursday, September 24th, and we're here at the Doña County Government Center. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. First up, we do have our invocation, which we do have Rabbi Yvette Lutman here from Temple Bethel. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm Rabbi Yvette Lutman, and I speak from my Jewish tradition. We have a very lovely section of our Bible that's not actually in the Bible. If you have to read between the lines to find it. And there's a young man named Nachshon. Nachshon is faced in front of the Red Sea. The Red Sea hasn't parted yet. But God has said, tell the people to go forth, and I will split the river. I will split the water. And very often you stand before water which has not yet been split. And Nachshon walks in and the water hasn't split. And Nachshon walks further and the water hasn't split. And Nachshon keeps walking until the water is up to his nose. And then with faith, the water splits. Heavenly Father, source of comfort and source of justice, may you be with us today as we face those things which may pose risk, and let us go forth with faith. Amen.
Next up is our Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to stand, please join us. Wonderful. Brandy, if you will please roll call us for determination of quorum.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Here.
Commissioner Chaparro? Commissioner Sanchez?
Present.
Vice Chair Murillo?
Present.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez?
Here. We do have quorum. So the commission convenes as the Board of County Commissioners and the Board of County Finance in open session. Mr. Lopez, do we have any changes to the agenda today?
Mr. Chair, we do not have any formal changes. However, realizing that we have Commissioner Chaparro stuck in traffic on her way in and that Detective Lewick is being recognized for his retirement coming up, and she was going to be doing the reading and presentation of that. If she is not here by the time we get to that, I would recommend that we go ahead and move that to after public comment, if that's okay with Detective Lewick, so that we can honor that request.
Perfect. That works. Yeah, for sure. Okay, next up we do have our consent agenda where the board will be asked to approve by one motion the following items of reoccurring or routine business, and we have items 1 through 10. This time we would entertain a motion for approval.
So move, Commissioner Murillo.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Murillo. I'll go ahead and second that. Do we have any comments or questions on the consent agenda, commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
Sorry, I have a question about item number 6.
Okay.
I'm wondering how these two positions actually compare in pay to equal other positions of the same level in the county, because it seems like $240,000 for two new positions seems like a lot, especially in Human Resources Department.
Okay. Good morning, Meg. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Commissioner Reynolds, thank you for that question. Basically, when positions are looked at, the Budget Department budgets them at mid-range of the salary of the grade level. So the C44 minimum annual salary is $58,176.96. Max or midpoint is $77,195.01, and maximum is $96,213.06. And then for the assistant director, it's D62, which is minimum 68, 96504, midpoint 93, 423, 44, and maximum 117, 881, 94. Now, how that compares with other positions, the assistant director position is equivalent to the other assistant director positions that have been established with the county. There is one in Health and Human Services. There is one in Facilities and Services. And then the HR Administrator of Comp and Class is at the same grade level as our other HR administrators, the C44.
So if I understand it correctly, the C44 and the D62, if we do the 117 for the max for D62, which I hope we don't do, then the other person is going to get roughly 123,000? Because you're asking for $240,000 for the amount for these two positions?
We budget it at midpoint. However, the candidate comes in based on their education and experience. So in order for somebody to come in at the maximum, they would have about 30-some years of experience plus education. So it's unlikely that we will find a candidate that comes in at the top of the range. It's more likely normally positions fill between minimum and midpoint, sometimes a little over midpoint.
Okay, so looking at the midpoint of D62, you said is 93. What's the midpoint of C44?
It is 77,195.
Okay, so if we bring them both in at midpoint, then we're only talking about requiring $170,000 instead of $240,000. So why do we want the $240,000?
Basically, on the, Commissioner Reynolds, on the breakdown we anticipate filling those positions December 1st of this year. So that's almost midpoint of fiscal year 25 budget. So for fiscal 25 budget, we're looking at a total of $140,286 for both positions, but that does include benefits for those two. So that's for this impact for this fiscal year. But then on an ongoing basis, it's approximately $240,490, and that's salary plus benefits for both positions.
Mr. Chair, excuse me for a second, but so the benefits generally range about 28%, 30%?
Closer to 40.
Okay, so let's do, if we do 40, and we're going to come in at the midpoint at 140, and we do 40%, we're talking about another 60,000. That still limits the total amount you need for those positions to be 200,000, even if you come in at midpoint. So why don't we approve 200,000 this year, and when we go into 25 budget, why don't we then add the additional 140,000 next year instead? Does that make more sense?
If I may, Chair, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, as a point of order, it seems like this is getting to be a very deeper discussion, and so I'd almost want to request that maybe Commissioner Reynolds look at pulling this item off consent agenda so that we can move on with consent.
Sure.
And then discuss this later, if that would be agreeable to you, Mr. Chairman, and to you, Commissioner Reynolds.
Yes, it
So
is.
currently we do, well, let the record state that Commissioner Chapato joined us at 9:08 a.m. And then we do have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the consent agenda in its totality. Vice Chair Murillo, are you wanting to withdraw your motion, or are you wanting it to go to a vote since we have a point of order?
No, I'm not gonna withdraw
Okay.
my motion.
So with that, does anyone have any other comments, questions, or concerns about the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I mean, if would it be possible to have an amendment to the motion?
You could, and then we could vote on the amendment.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we actually pull item 6 from the agenda and approve items 1 through 5 and items 7 through 10 in one motion.
Okay, we do have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, Ms. Sanchez.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Reynolds and a second by Commissioner Sanchez to pull item 6 for further discussion. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Chaparro.
good morning, thank you.
Good morning.
I just don't see the reason to pull this, quite frankly, and we have had this in advance. We had the opportunity to speak to the county manager or Meg, for that matter, if we had an issue with it. So I think we should just continue to approve the consent agenda in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandy, with that, if you'll make a roll call on the amended motion?
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro,
No.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
No.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
No. Motion fails. Moving on to the original motion, which was to approve the consent agenda in its entirety. Is there any other follow-up, discussion, or question or comment?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Reynolds.
I'd like to make a motion that on item 6, we actually change the amount from 240,000 to 150,000,
To what number?
to 150,000.
Okay. So we have a motion to change the amount from $240,000 on the budget to $150,000. Is there a second? Last call for a second to the motion. Seeing none, motion fails. Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do have a comment.
Yes.
Should we be discussing these matters always before we come to the meeting, or should we be discussing them in open session like we do? I mean, what is the preference of the board? Should we be having these kind of discussions before we come to the meeting and making these changes then, always? Or should we allow the public to be part of the discussion?
Thank you, Meg. I think that's a personal way of you or whoever doing business. I usually ask questions prior to the meeting to the department head or to county manager or county attorney and get answers. And then if I have follow-up questions, I'll ask here. Or if I want to make a clarifying comment about the agenda item itself. So I think it's dependent on the commissioner themselves.
Okay, thank you. But in order to change this, since it's already on the agenda and published, then it would have to be a public discussion anyway, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
The agenda's already been published, so yeah.
correct. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, Brandy, if you'll roll call us, please.
Commissioner Reynolds,
No.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes. Motion carries. Consent agenda approved. Brandy, if we can get those resolution numbers, please.
Item number 1, 2024-124. Item number 2, 2024-125. Item number 3, 2024-126. Item number 5, 2024-127. And item number 9, 2024-128.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brandy. Moving on, we do have our pet showcase. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to everybody. We have a cat of the week named Cinnamon, a domestic short hair from 4 months old, who says, "I'm a curious little ball of energy just shy of 6 months old. I adore affection, and when I'm not seeking love, you can find me pouncing on toys and chasing after anything that moves. I'm looking for a loving home where I can be your playful companion and get all the cuddles I crave." And our dog of the week is Dennis, a mixed medium 1-year-old who says, "I just turned 1 year old. I may be a little shy at first, but once you give me a bit of encouragement, my true playful spirit shines through. I'm looking for a loving home where I can feel safe and flourish. If you're ready to help me come out of my shell, let's create some unforgettable memories together." Those are our pets of the week. And as a reminder, the Animal Services Center in the Mesilla Valley is always adopting.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Moving on, we do have our employee recognition. okay, where the commission will recognize Doña County employees for years of service to Doña County. And this is going to be read by Mr. Lopez and Commissioner Chapato.
Okay, we'll do it like this. Is Lieutenant Timothy Barreras? There you are. Come on up. And I don't see your supervisor. You left him? Good job. So come right on up here. So Lieutenant Timothy Barreras is celebrating 20 years here in Doña County. He joined the Doña County Detention Center in September of 2004 as a cadet and became an officer in 2005. He has worked in various departments along his career and was promoted to sergeant in 2009, and in 2022 he was promoted to lieutenant. In this role, he can be found performing administrative duties, including Prison Rape Elimination Act Coordinator. He oversees inmate programs and chaplains, background checks, and is the system administrator. Among coworkers, he is known for his sarcastic sense of humor. I'm with you. He is proud of his ability and willingness to help others without hesitation. On his time off, he enjoys traveling anywhere in Mexico with a beach and tropical climate and watching football. His favorite teams are the Texas Longhorns and the San Francisco 49ers. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in thanking Lieutenant Barreras for 2 decades of dedicated service to the residents of Doña County.
I know, I'm trying to hold on. Okay, perfect. Looks great.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our next person that we will be celebrating is Detective Lawrence Lueck. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored and humbled. This is the first time that I have presented a retirement fruit platter, whatever you're going to use it for. That's what it's, historically it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Detective Lawrence Lueck joined the Doña Sheriff's Office in June of 2023 as a deputy. Pardon me, 2003, thank you. Throughout his career, he worked in different divisions, including DWI and traffic. He was promoted to investigator in 2010 and detective in 2018. As a lieutenant, he investigates an average of 12 cases at a time and is proud of the effort and attention to detail he gives each case, and I think I should say as a detective. I heard the giggles in the back. He empathizes with victims while honoring suspects' constitutionally protected rights. He's especially proud of a current streak of 6 jury trial convictions and prison sentences of child sexual assault suspects. Among his peers, he's known to be a stickler for correct grammar.
He turned a hobby of fitness and fathom into combat sports in industry into the governor's appointment to the New Mexico Athletic Commission, which oversees and regulates all professional boxing, mixed martial arts, bare knuckle fighting, and wrestling in the state. He is currently serving as the acting chairman. In retirement, he will spend more time with his family, more time working out, and continue working for the Athletic Commission. He will also conduct private investigations, mostly background investigations. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in thanking Lieutenant Lueck for 21 years of dedicated service to the residents of Doña County. And before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, I have a few words. So I met Larry, my friend, many years ago, and we all have an idea of what officers on a poster look like. Chiseled face, perfect posture, and when he's in uniform, the perfectly pressed uniform and extreme professionalism. And Larry, today as we stand here in your retirement, I have so many memories of you throughout the years. And kids, I'll share some other stories if you'd like later. But when I first met you, you were a young officer and I was a young judge not so many years ago, and I can't believe it's been 21 years. Larry and I learned together, and he always presented the best case he could. And by the way, Larry, I know your tell signs. If we all know Larry when he's upset, he purses his lips and does this. And then he asks you why you don't agree and how he can do better. And all the while saying in his head, "Judge, what are you thinking?" But as a judge, I learned to trust you. And if you said something went down, it did. And when you knew something wasn't quite right, you took the responsibility. So after a while, not only did I trust you completely, the attorneys trusted you, the community trusted you, and we trust your word. I spoke to a few of your fellow officers, and the words that were used to describe you: very dedicated, always gets the job done, cares deeply about people, extremely competent, honest to a fault, striving to be better every day, a man that we can count on. To me, you've always been an extremely loyal officer to the Sheriff's Department throughout the years, regardless of who was leading the department, and a fiercely loyal friend to everyone, and an honorable man, Larry. You are the type of officer that when I'm in trouble or anyone else is in trouble, we pray you show up. So thank you for that. I will miss seeing you in court. I will miss your leadership, and especially your sense of humor that made me laugh with joy. Thanks so much for everything you've done for this county and for making us safer. Detective Lueck, enjoy your retirement. This isn't a goodbye. Nos veremos pronto, because I do have your phone number, friend. Good luck to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please help me in congratulating Larry on the new phase of his life. Go ahead.
I want to thank Commissioner Chaparro for the 2 promotions today. I tried to correct that in the emails that went back and forth, but I guess it got lost in the translation. I'll keep it short. Yeah, she knows one thing that she didn't say is, if I have an opinion about something, you're going to know about it. Sometimes even in court, sometimes if it's not appropriate. But like I said, I'm going to keep it short. I'm just going to say that I worked for 4 years in local law enforcement before I came to the Sheriff's Department, so that's a total of 25 years. And I can say this with the absolute utmost honesty. There has never been a day, even in the difficult times, and there were some very difficult times, there was never a day like I felt I got up in the morning and I had to go to work. I got to go to work. And it may sound a little bit cliche, but I'm really thankful, and I'm thankful to the people of Doña County that you've let me serve you for 25 years. There's really nothing else. I can't think of anything better other than playing first base for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I can't think of anything else I'd rather have done for the last 25 years. So it's been a good ride, and I'm ready to, at 50 years old, I hopefully have another 30,
whatever year is ahead of me, trying to figure out what that next phase of life is going to look like. But it's not going to be easy, but it's a very necessary transition. And as you can see, I have a lot of work to do here. I have to mention, it was just about 10 minutes ago, I realized my wife is out of the country visiting her mother. It just occurred to me about 10 minutes ago that I could have told her to log on and she could have watched this online, but oh well. It happens. So anyway, thanks, guys.
And the platter reads, "In honor of your service, Lawrence Lewick, retired with distinction after 21 years of loyal service on the 22nd day of September, 2024." And you can use this for whatever you'd like. And a pen from us.
She wants to eat, my older daughter Lily wants to eat fruit.
I didn't say I said we as a family.
I was gonna offer to let her drink her first legal beer out of this
Oh.
in 7 years, but you know.
Do you kids want to say anything on behalf of your dad? No? Okay. All right, I guess we're ready for photos. Scooch to your right, I guess? Yes. You know, you're in the middle. We'll have you right here. How are you? Good morning.
Perfect. Take one more. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
It's okay.
Okay, we'll just take a moment. Moving on, we do have our proclamations, and the one we have today is item number 11, which is to proclaim September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month in Doña County. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And I'll second that. So a motion by Commissioner Chapato and a second by myself. Commissioner Chapato, take it away.
Thank you. Dr. Rio Lopez, if you'll step forward with your staff or students, everyone to the podium, please, for this proclamation. Here at the podium. Thank you, yes. Come on up. Thank you. Buenos días. Qué placer es tenerlos aquí con nosotros frente de esta comisión del condado. Me da un gusto y es mi honor dar esta presentación para ustedes y les agradezco de todo corazón que estén aquí. In celebration of Latinx or Hispanic Heritage Month,
I would like to provide an example of how diversity pulls us together from different sources and can bring us together. One of my favorites is a cumbia. We all know the cumbia, right? It's a style of Latin music that blends African, indigenous, and European musical styles. It's known for its heavy percussion. Double beat uses drums, flutes, maracas, and accordions. Cumbia is believed to date back to the 1800s in Colombian African culture and is now heard around the world. We may not all enjoy cumbias, but we can all appreciate the unique musical preferences. If we look around this room, we can see the many familiar faces of the Latin or Latinx community and can imagine so many different backgrounds and tunes that each face represents, whether it be Mexican, Colombian, de Guatemala, de San Salvador, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Mexicanos, Chicanos, whatever we wish to identify ourselves as. Since we have learned that our multicultural community, embracing different cultures, points of views, and countries of origin should never be taken for granted, today we highlight our Latin leaders, neighbors, friends, family, y los vecinos. We encourage the community to attend and support events organized to bring us together in this celebration. A calendar of events hosted at NMSU are at the NMSU website and social media. And especially the Chicano program at NMSU focuses on supporting students with Latinidad experience in the university. NMSU Chicano Programs is hosting a Latinx Heritage Month series of events that showcases pupusas, a delight from San Salvador, an immigration discussion, salsa, the one we taste, not the one we dance, and a cumbia night. So thank you so much for being with us today. And we have Dr. Rio Lopez, Director of the Latin American Programs at NMSU, here with us to let us know a little bit more about the program, let us know a little bit about more events that you're having. And thank you so much. Mil gracias por acompañarnos aquí hoy día. Dr. Lopez? This one right here.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Rio Lopez, they, them. I'm the director of the Latin American Programs, formerly known as Chicano Programs. Thank you to the Doña Ana County Board for recognizing the hard work of Latin American Programs and the student leadership. Our program is one of the largest ones of the Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity Unit. And this group of student leaders behind me and the Latin American Student Council, Latin American Programs team members have worked very hard to ensure that a sense of belonging exists at NMSU for individuals from all identities. Latinx Heritage Month is a time to celebrate the achievements and beauty of our diverse community. It also invites all of us to reflect on our history, recognize our challenges, and work towards greater inclusion and equity. As the largest minoritized group in the Las Cruces community and NMSU, it is crucial that we commit to solidarity. The work of our program and the Latin American Student Council, who's behind me, is key to our university's Hispanic and minority serving designations. I hope that you can join our event series and learn and build community with us. And let's use this month to create a more inclusive and supportive community for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez. And Mr. Lopez, would you please read the proclamation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Ms. Commissioner. Whereas today we join the nation and our state in celebrating Latinx or Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th through October 15th to honor and highlight the diverse cultures, histories, and contributions of the Latinx or Hispanic community in our county. And whereas Doña Ana County is a better place to live because of our proud multicultural heritage in agriculture, astronomy, business, creative industries, technology, science, and sports. In these fields and many others, we find Latinx leaders who are community advocates, firefighters, entertainers, lawyers, and policymakers who elevate us all with their talent, perseverance, and contributions. And whereas diversity within the Latinx community is as varied as our many cultures throughout the nation, and we acknowledge that descendants from Latino countries live among us and enrich our lives every day by sharing our experience, values, culture, music, and cuisine. And whereas, as we commemorate Latinx or Hispanic Heritage Month, we acknowledge that our nation's strength lies in its diversity. By embracing every unique background and story, we honor their contributions and augment our own collective experience as Americans. And whereas we encourage residents to participate in our community's learning and celebration opportunities throughout the month, ranging from cultural discussions to music and tasty food. Now therefore, the Doña County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of September 15th to October 15th as Latinx Heritage Month, proudly proclaim this 24th day of September 2024, a proclamation for the board's consideration.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Any other board comments? Vice Chair Murillo?
I just want to thank all of you for coming and celebrating this day, and it's very important to us Hispanas that we're here in leadership, and thank you to all of you. Dr. Torres, thank you.
Any other commission comments? Seeing none, does anyone else want a chance to address the commission? No? Okay. Brandy, take it away.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes, motion carries. Congratulations on your proclamation.
Come on.
Yeah, bring them up. Of course you can. You don't like my stuff? That is so weird. The screen flashes when you're flashing. Oh. I'm gonna watch it.
Everybody keep your eyes open. Yeah, just keep your eyes open. That works. All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Wonderful. Okay, we do have our public input portion of the agenda this morning. If you would like to address the commission on any subject, if you'll please join us up front. To the left is a white binder. If you will please sign your name. If you're addressing the commission on anything else that is in the agenda, if you'll just wait until that agenda item comes forward. Thank you. Change that to 3. There we go. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Jim Hurst. And in honor of Gay Pride Parade, I offer this comment. Given that today is the last meeting of this commission before the Gay Pride Parade when this community celebrates the right to sexual privacy, sexual liberty. We should remember how this most valuable freedom came to be. We have the right to sexual freedom because we have the right to religious liberty. In the same manner as the state has no authority to tell a citizen what their religious beliefs ought to be, the state has no authority to tell a citizen what their sexual orientation ought to be. As long as the sexual behavior is private and between consenting adults, it is none of the state's business. But that has not always been our society's attitude. Indeed, the discussion of gay rights was not considered appropriate conversation for polite society for most of my lifetime. Indeed, the debate over society's acceptance of the LGBTQ community is far from over. I've observed that those who value religious liberty and separation between church and state are the least, I've observed that those who devalue religious liberty and separation of church and state are the most reluctant to embrace LGBTQ community and to accept them as equal citizens and grant them their full measure of civil rights. Indeed, you cannot have one without the other. Religious freedom would be hollow if you could not apply your religious beliefs to your sexual morality. Separation of church and state would be incomplete if religious dogma could deny minorities equal civil rights and the full blessings of liberty. The right to serve in the military and the right to marry according to your conscience come to mind. We will continue to enjoy these rights if those sworn to uphold the Constitution actually understand our Constitution and the principles of liberty that it espouses. When you allow the erosion of separation of church and state, you are creating conditions that weaken religious freedom and sexual liberty. Consider that as you celebrate LGBTQ rights next Saturday. Thank you very much.
Chairman, Commissioners, Juan Garcia. While I trust the integrity of our elections, a disturbing article in the Las Cruces Bulletin 17 September raises concerns that every county citizen should share, regardless of party. All the quotes are from the bulletin, and I start with my quotes. In court records and an interview with Las Cruces Bulletin, Sylvia acknowledged that she filed her financial disclosure statement 2 days after the deadline. I continue. It's a common mistake, according to the Secretary of State General Counsel, Peter Au. In my opinion, he is saying, no big deal. And I continue with the quotes. Judge Arrieta said the Financial Disclosure Act clearly states a person who fails to file paperwork before the deadline should be disqualified. The law provides candidates with a grace period to submit their reports. However, because Silva became a candidate so late in the process, she had no such period, Arrieta noted. And I continue. Silva did not win the March primary to become a Democratic nominee for District 53. She wasn't even a candidate then. And I continue. The process also drew heat since none of the 7 party officials who appointed Silva were from Chaparral. End of quote. The voters the voters from both counties deserve a say. I continue with my quotes. Silva said she submitted most of the documentation on August 26th, but got hung up on the financial disclosure. The Financial Disclosure, I continue with my quotes, Act says the candidate should be disqualified if the statement is not submitted 70 days before the election. Silva's submission came in after the deadline. End of quote. You likely know Ms. Silva personally or from politics. Representative Madrid got primary for not meeting progressive voting expectations. Yet it's appalling how the Democratic Party is blatantly disregarding the will of the people in this instance. Mr. Chair, do you condone this outrage? The issue is not Ms. Silva, it's New Mexico elections that allow preferential treatment and the disenfranchisement of voters, which is an outrage. This undermines the very foundation of our democracy. This is not an accident. It's a shocking example of a flawed election process and getting away with it. I agree with Clerk Eskin's final comments when she states, who loses in this is our voters in our community. Somebody who may want to vote or is leaning towards registering to vote may read that headline and say, you know what, why bother? And that's the real story here. So my question, commissioners, is are you going to allow this and are you going to do anything about it? Thank you.
Good morning, Mark V, District 1. Last time I talked about my trip in my Lightning truck to Albuquerque, and I did a quick times it took. So let me add those all up. 20 minutes up, going up at Socorro, 1 hour in Albuquerque, 45 minutes in Socorro coming back, so 2 hours and 5 minutes of charge time there. I got home at 8%. I put it on my charger, which is a low-end charger. It took 12 and a half hours for it to go back to 100%. So traveling in electrical vehicles, and Jonathan and I talked, he told me that he had to sleep in the back of the truck because it didn't have the range to go where he wanted because of construction. So if you've got an agenda, if you don't know, don't take an electric vehicle. If you're on a trip and you don't care where you spend the night, then go in your EV because it definitely is cheaper. On the other side, a good note, I've been doing door knocking. I did door knocking in Barino, hit 4 doors where the people had moved. So voter rolls are not quite as good as they ought to be, but I was very lifted because 2 of the doors, there was young Hispanic males that answered the doors, and after I talked to them, they said they were going to vote, and they gave me the confidence that they were going to vote. Thank you. Have a good day.
Any other public comment this morning?
Good morning, County Commissioners. My name is Michael Simmons. Didn't have plans to speak, referring to some other things. There are differences between religious positions and the LGBTQ community as far as freedom and whatnot. That's fine. But they aren't really equal positions to take. You can say it's traditional. You can go through the history of the religions, Islamic, Christian, Jewish, what they consider taboo, what not taboo. LGBTQ tends to fight against the taboo places, whatever you want to do there. But one refers to the divine, as we've mentioned before. We have prayer before our meetings. We're trying to refer to the divine because there is a reality beyond what we often see. And you often say, how can that be? Well, you often see evil. If there's evil, there has to be good. So then the religious side tries to determine what the truth of that matter is through various things, God, etc. LGBTQ is not that. It is a fight against certain taboos that religious have had, but you often see them in the pagan worship that has been, I don't know, demonized. You'll see other things. I'm not exactly sure how to describe what I'm thinking there, but you often see evil things occurring, and the major religions have taboos in place in order to fight against human depravity and things that start pulling apart civilizations. You go through the history of religions and you see that they are building civilizations. They set law, they're fighting for health, whatever is going on in their communities. So they aren't the same in that regard at all. So kind of toward that, if you see a religious ceremony, you go to any church, temple, whatever, you expect to see certain behaviors. If you go to an LGBTQ parade, what do you expect to see there? Are these equal behaviors doing equal things? And I guess at that, I will leave my confusion at your door of what that really means. And I thank you for your time.
Any other public comment today? Seeing none, we will move on to staff input, if there's any staff input.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. We do have a number of items. We're going to start off with Jamie Michael talking about our transitional housing project update.
Good morning, Jamie Michael, County's Health and Human Services Department. Just wanted to provide you all with a brief update on the housing and treatment services that we are in the process of developing. I'm sure you have seen across the street the rock wall going up. Thank you, Robert, and your team. He's gone. We just wanted to remind you all that we are working with Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute. They are helping us do research and putting together recommendations that will ultimately come to you all to determine the best way to operate the services there. It will include best practices, financial models, and other things. They continue to meet with our local behavioral health and housing providers. We're also meeting with people who have some living experience and can give us some real-world advice on how to design and operate that facility. Robert did say that the modular buildings will probably be moved in towards the end of October. We are finalizing the design, and we will have all of that to present to you tentatively in November. So thank you very much. It's an exciting project, and I just wanted to make sure you all knew that we are still moving forward.
And for our next person, we will have Robert Herrera talk about our fairgrounds updates. And while he's making his way up, just a reminder to everybody that this week is the Southern New Mexico State Fair and Rodeo. And if you want to experience some of that great cuisine that was talked about by Commissioner Chaparro earlier, that is a great place to go and experience the largest rodeo in Southern New Mexico.
Good morning. Robert Herrera, Director, Facilities and Services. I just wanted to give the Commission a brief update on some exciting new improvements we completed and are actually ongoing at the county fairgrounds. And I put together this little bit of a small presentation. So we started with all new signage. This one on the top is the large sign that's in the front, seen on I-10. It was blank for several years, so we went ahead and put Doña County Fairgrounds Rodeo Arena. So now it's kind of a landmark and our marquee out there. So that is just been completed, and we are looking to upgrade that in the future with the digital sign. The main entrance, that one also was an older sign that had our old logo on it, so we replaced that. And then we replaced all the signage in all the buildings with our new look and our new logo. So the majority of the improvements were to the rodeo arena. We added seating, a little over 1,000 new seats, so that brings the capacity to about 3,500 spectators. We added seats to the south and the north. We upgraded the fencing and corrals, all new fencing inside. We repaired and painted the corrals outside and leveled the area, put new footing for the livestock there in the form of sand and mixed dirt. And then we also add some electrical upgrades to the livestock holding areas to the south of the area. Those are in progress. They will be completed after the county fair. We also did a complete renovation to the desert kitchen. We installed brand new appliances, and we completely renovated the inside. The picture on the far right is what it looked like before. Picture on the bottom is what it looks like now. So, and all brand new appliances, complete new range hood and fire extinguisher system. That concludes my presentation. I just also wanted to update you on a couple of improvements we did to the old racetrack. We got the restrooms there working, and we're trying to do some improvements so we can attract some more users to that facility. We recently had a monster truck show, so hopefully with the additional improvements that we continue to get more usage out of that area. But I will entertain any questions.
Awesome. That looks fantastic. Thank you for that update, Robert. I'm very excited for everyone that's going to go to the fair this weekend, gets to enjoy and see all the improvements that Doña County's put in there. So thank you for that, and thank you to your team.
Thank you. We will have our official ribbon cutting for those new improvements on Wednesday at 5:30, if anybody wants to attend. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yeah, Commissioner Chaparro.
Real quick, Robert, can anyone enlighten us and if we can purchase tickets online or where we can get tickets for the fair, or maybe Mr. Lopez knows?
I'm not sure about purchasing tickets. I think you can purchase them online, but you can, yes.
And also for the rodeo?
Yes. I think, I do know that the tickets include access to the rodeo. Yes, because I bought some.
Well, I'd like to congratulate you, Robert, because I travel to Deming about once a week, and I could see the construction slowly coming about. And from the highway, it looks wonderful. So thank you for you and your staff for all the hard work.
Thank
Really
you.
much
And
appreciated.
yeah, my staff did a great job, Commissioner and Chair. I am excited for everyone to see it because it is going to be a really impactful change that you will see as soon as you arrive. So I'm really excited.
That's very exciting.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just in response to Commissioner Chaparro's question, the website is snmstatefairgrounds.net, and they do have both the tickets for the fair and rodeo available there, as well as the unlimited ride tickets for the carnival.
But you have to buy it ahead of time because they won't sell you the unlimited pass when you're there, I don't think. Or maybe they will. Actually, they do.
Mr. Chair, on additional staff input, I'd like to have our Assistant County Manager Jonathan Macias provide an update on our Regional Infrastructure Accelerator Project.
Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioners, as that presentation loads, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. So yes, Mark is right. I did drive back with the F-150 Lightning a couple of months ago, and I did not have to sleep in the bed of the truck. It was just more of a fatalist comment about going off my primary travel path. But I was able to make it home safely, even if not all the chargers were putting out the optimal charge, although ours will. Another thing I just wanted to acknowledge is that Robert's team has really been working very hard. One of the most heartfelt stories that I heard while we were out there together with the interim county manager was that Robert actually had the distinct pleasure of being able to rehabilitate the kitchen that used to go and work with his grandmother. Robert, do you want to say what age you were? We'll just say when you were a youngster. So he's giving back to the community in ways that will be a force multiplier, but really also set it up for the next generations of people that enjoy the fair. So on to the update here. We've got the Regional Innovation Accelerator project, which, as you know, was the US DOT competitive grant that was awarded about a year and a half ago. The performance period for this was essentially all of 2024. So we went from January, and we're going to be concluding here in December of 2024. It was about $1 million grant, and it sought to look at the vision for the use of the industrial park for the next couple of years in terms of what are our strategic advantages. This is looking at it holistically in terms of what should we be doing to meet the intermodal opportunities, which are air, cargo, rail, and even looking at what the southern proximity might help us be able to leverage as well. As we all lived through the pandemic, we know that the industrial manufacturing and the globalization turned out to be a little bit of an impediment when it came to getting some of those much needed items out of the Asian markets. And so this would seek to try to identify what are some of the things that we could continue to reshore and create here. The four areas that we have identified together with the KPMG global entity and company is looking at transportation connectivity, looking at this from a perspective of economic development. And of course, y'all made the investment to hire somebody in-house as a full-time FTE, that being Ms. Denise Carter. And we will continue to see how that complements together with the marketing and outreach that Jessica Lynn and of course Davin do here as well. We also are looking at clean energy platforms. So again, looking more at electrification. Of course, the governor has her own opinions on what she would like us to look at in terms of other alternative fuels. We'll see how that continues to develop and where that can best be taken advantage of. And then also looking again at the border opportunity and proximity. This is a bit of a highlight, and I'll give you just the overview that as we look at the proximity of where we are, you're looking at the aerial where we have the rail intermodal center, that's in yellow. We've got our jetport, which we've been making massive investments in. In fact, by next month, we will be wrapping up the runway fortification, and it will be ready for air cargo. Now, of course, that is just the beginning of our story as we continue to look at who will be the tenant that we can continue to court to be able to leverage that. And then also, we've got the truck mobility complex, which we've been eyeing as a potential place where we could also look at autonomous vehicle driving for some of those long cargo trucks as well, or maybe just within the regional short travel. We're looking also at some of the road expansion and improvements, but we're not doing this in a silo. We're looking at it together statewide in terms of what NMDOT might be targeting and looking at some of the alternative corridors. And then I'll leave you with a little bit of a preview. So this isn't quite ready to go full mainstream or live, but it's the summation of what we've been working on together with KPMG. We will be having a convening at the early portion of October where we will be going up north in Albuquerque and we'll be meeting with our statewide stakeholders on economic development. So that includes NMEDD, extending invitations to the governor's office, New Mexico IDEA, and many others that are in the statewide arena of economic development. I think we've all tried to see how we can schedule things down here, and it doesn't always quite work for the schedules in the north, so we're trying to be more accessible and also kind of bridge that divide. So as we look forward, we're looking to see how any kind of trade port candidate project will be able to be internally vetted, and then it will be screened into 3 main project criteria that will allow us to look at it from a identification of whether it's ready to prioritize, maybe it's adjacent to one of our goals, or maybe it's something that we look at in the future. And just know that we're looking at this based at the vital conditions that you voted on as part of the strategic plan. So we're not looking to stray too much, we're looking to see how we can connect, as well as look at some of the business opportunities that are out there globally. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions. If they're not immediately now, you're welcome to email me or have your assistants email me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, of course, Commissioner.
I'm shaking
Otto.
my head, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Commissioner.
Good. I met with Denise yesterday, and I had such a pleasant conversation with her. And so we were going back and forth on ideas, and she was touching on several projects throughout Doña County, not just the Santa Teresa and Sunland Park area. And so I mentioned to her that at least this commissioner would like an update maybe every month or every couple of months, because I think oftentimes we're not aware of what you're doing. And I also suggested that on any meetings that be shared with our assistants so that they can put it on our calendar just in case any commissioner is interested in attending the meetings, whether they be in Albuquerque or Santa Teresa or Oregon or wherever they are, because I think that if we are speaking to legislators and constituents, we can start understanding how Denise's role is going to fit within the county a little better. And I would like for her to succeed and really start developing her job as economic developer a little better, because it's been kind of quiet in the last year. And so I think moving forward with more transparency, more open communication, more emails, and then letting our assistants know whenever there's any meetings so that we're able to attend. So I'd appreciate you moving forward with that. And thanks for the hard work you're doing.
Of course, you're welcome. And Chair and Commissioner Chaparro, if I may, I think a couple of things to keep in mind is that we have changed the way that economic development is now routing its way through the county. Before, the former county manager tended to be the one that had all that information, would have ad hoc updates with y'all, as I understood. And so now we are being much more transparent and much more prioritizing the actual goals that you have bestowed upon us. I think one other thing, if you want to mark your calendar, we're looking to have that meeting on or around October 9th. It will be taking place up in Albuquerque, but we're also going to have a hybrid attendance options. I know, Commissioner, you mentioned in the past that around this time you get booked all the way through November and January of 2025. So we want to be mindful of your schedule, or if you'd like to send your designee, we can make sure we get the information to them. And then really, we're here to ensure that we're executing on what you've asked us, so you don't feel like you always have to be checking in with us, but we can certainly get an update out, maybe something that Denise drafts. And Denise is just coming up on her 9 months with the county, so she's definitely got plenty of information to share. And with that, if y'all would allow me, Denise wanted to give a little bit of an update on the Creative Industries Grant, which also has a nexus to economic development. She's just going to share about the next event, so you can mark your calendars to come out for that one as well.
Good morning. Buenos dias. I want to remind you all that we're going to be having a Creative Industries workshop this coming Friday here at the Government Center, Multipurpose Room 113 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We will have our third one, October 11th. It's a Friday again here at the Government Center from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. They're free. They're open to the public. Anyone can attend. The goal of those workshops is to educate county staff and constituents and the community as a whole on creative industries and the grant that the county received last year in September. So I really look forward to seeing you all there. I did send an email with the flyers that we've been using to market the events. I work with our PIO office, so there was a press release that went out. I'm still seeing it on the front of our website. And again, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
And Mr. Chair, just a few other quick notes for the information of the entire board. The chair, Jamie Michael from HHS, and myself did meet with MMC's interim CEO, along with officials from the city of Las Cruces. This was intended as an introductory meeting, but we did get into some of our expectations moving forward. It is clear that there is disagreement on what capital investment means and its time period, whether that is they need to be making that investment for every year, meeting that 4 to 5% investment, or if it is a 3-year rolling average, or if it is just over 40-year life of the lease. That is going to be something that will be greatly debated coming up. But it was a nice meeting to have kind of a reset and reestablish communications with the interim CEO. So just wanted the entire board to be aware of that. And then I have issued 2 county manager directives over the last 2 weeks, and have copied in incoming county manager Scott Andrews on them. The first is on reporting requirements for county staff, county employees. That's everybody from the county manager on down who sit on boards. This does exclude our elected officials, but everybody else that's under the county manager's authority. If they are appointed by the board to a committee, they are now expected to report back out to the BOCC as to what activities are taking place. And there's also direction given if there is something of urgent concern, public safety, public health, to get those immediately in, so that neither the county manager nor the board are surprised nor unaware of critical things happening for board appointments that you have made. And then the second is related to putting out news releases or doing any advertising that feature political candidates during the primary and general elections. Basically, it starts, thanks to the advice of our county clerk, Dr. Amanda Lopez-Askin, the Friday before voting starts, early voting starts, and then running through election day of both primary and general election season. And that is intended to kind of match up with the county's approach to we don't allow political candidates to post in our right-of-ways during those times. And same thing, we shouldn't be posting things on our social media, news releases, et cetera, that might give the appearance that we are favoring one candidate over another. There are some exceptions for general county business. So obviously, any commissioner who is running for office can still take part in proclamations and everything else that we do as our normal course of business. But hopefully that will give our county staff some guidance on how to address these things coming up. So with that, those are the staff input for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. I appreciate that. Do we have any comments from our county elected officials? Welcome.
Good morning, Chair Salazar Hernandez, Vice Chair Murillo, Commissioners Reynolds, Chaparro, and Sanchez, Gina Eugenia Montoya Ortega, Assessor here at Doña County. I wanted to actually thank Commissioner Chaparro for that comment that she made about she likes hearing from departments and transparency, because we as the Assessor's Office have pretty much attended every commission meeting and share what is happening in our office because we are about transparency. We just currently wanted to share that we are in the process of preparing our tax roll to send to the Treasurer's Office. We will have this done by Monday. Adrian Acosta, our data analyst coordinator, works very hard to get all this stuff together, and we are very blessed to have him. He's a great guy, as well as the rest of our staff. Currently, our office is working on permits so that we can get the tax rolls properly, hopefully in the right numbers, so we can send to the treasurers. Chief Deputy Reyes would like to just kind of give an upgrade on our server migration.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair, Vice Chair. As I said in the previous meeting, our server migration was done. It was long overdue, and it's been 2 weeks. It's going great. We have minimal hiccups, so it's really going great, and we're getting ready, I think October 10th, to upgrade the software to the latest version, which is 2023.3, which will give us better opportunity to do the job a lot better and retrieve our information a lot more concise. So I just wanted to say that thanks to the IT staff and our staff for going along and doing this. And as soon as we upgrade to Tyler, you'll see a difference in our camera program. Thank you.
Yes, and like Mr. Reyes said, thank you again to Kent and the IT staff. They were a great help. This probably would not have been able to happen, and it was many years waiting. And once again, we would just like to let the public know, any customers, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. As I've said before, we've had people that are not happy with what we tell them, but it is being fair to all taxpayers. So please reach out. We'd like to have those conversations. Thanks.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega, Mr. Reyes, thank you for taking the time to meet with me twice to address constituents' concerns. It turned into an issue that I didn't quite expect. And I know you worked hard on it, and I know you reached out to one of our constituents. And thank God that you did, because we realized that maybe we're not connecting with the city in the way that we should for parcels and lots and reporting and taxing. And that was something new that I learned. But thank you for sticking out with it, or sticking through it, and meeting with the city officials, because it really brought a lot of information, not only to myself, but the residents that were questioning the way lots were being reported. So thank you for that effort. I appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Welcome.
Hello, Chair and Commissioners. Good to see you all today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with encouraging everyone to follow our social media accounts or our website for accurate and fact-checked information. A reminder that misinformation and malinformation is in our community. I also want to go ahead and talk about what our county clerks, if you read her entire quote from the bulletin article regarding the court ruling, our county clerk, Dr. Amanda Lopez Askin, did highlight that when misinformers cast doubt on our free, fair, and transparent elections, the only ones who lose are the voters in our community. So I want to encourage everyone to be sure to follow our county clerk social media accounts for accurate information. I also want to go ahead and remind everyone, because we're hearing this again in the community, that the only way that voter registrations are canceled are 3 ways. And this is in the election code 1-4-24. And that is death of a voter, at the request of a voter, or at the direction of the Board of Registration. So I just want to remind everyone of that. Also, sample ballots are now available. So if you want to check out your sample ballot, go ahead and go to nmvote.org. You're going to click on Find My Registration. Then you're going to enter your information and you can see your sample ballot. You can see your district, your precinct, things like that. One last thing, I have kind of some shout outs for our staff. Actually, it's not the last thing. I have a few more things. Shout out to our staff. They were at National Voter Registration Day. They collaborated with NMSU. They had a really great day out there. Our staff will also be, our recording and filing staff will also be at the Southern New Mexico State Fair. So if any vendors don't have their business registration, our staff will be there to help them out with that. Our staff will also be there having a booth. So if anyone would like to register to vote, our staff will be out there as well. And another shout out to our amazing staff who just put out a wonderful podcast on Billy the Kid. We have really fun documents in our vault, fun documents about like Pat Garrett, Billy the Kid, things like that. And so it was a really great episode. So thank you to Bern and Cynthia and Jacob for all that they do producing that podcast. Okay, almost done with updates. I promise. Important dates coming up. October 8th, early voting starts here at the Government Center. And then on October 19th, all the alternate sites open. Those alternate sites include the Anthony Public Library, Doña Community College Chaparral, Hatch Valley Public School Student Service Training Center, NMSU Corbett Center Student Union, Doña Community College East Mesa, Las Cruces City Hall, Mesilla Town Hall, and Doña Community College Sunland Park. So those are the expanded early voting sites. Those open on October 19th. Last day to request your absentee application is October 22nd. So if you'd like to vote by mail, the last day to get that application to us is October 22nd. Last day of early voting is November 2nd, and of course, Election Day is on November 5th. I would encourage voters to come during early voting. We do anticipate that Election Day is going to be busy. Also, if you want to see all the 42 locations, you can go to dacelections.com. We have a really great interactive map. You can see all the early voting locations, plus all the Election Day locations. And just another quick reminder, if you want to register to vote, if you want to verify your voter registration, or if you want to view your sample ballot, go to nmvote.org. Any questions for me?
So last day for absentee is October 22nd?
Yep, October 22nd.
And early voting ends November 2nd?
Yes.
Got it.
All right.
I think we're good.
Okay. We're good?
There's any questions?
Sounds good.
We
Thank
love
you.
that.
Mr. Chair, if I can ask, nmvote.org for sample ballot?
Everyone online. Yes, nmvote.org. You're going to click on Find My Registration. Then you'll put in your information. I believe it's your first name, last name, and your date of birth. And then your specific voter information comes up, and you'll be able to see your sample ballot.
Wonderful.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other elected official comment? Seeing none, commission comment? Any commissioners want to give comment?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
Thank you. I have a few events coming up that are noteworthy. Today, we actually have a meeting at 7 o'clock at the Gaston School District in order to discuss school safety in the Gaston School District in Chaparral. That'll be at 7 o'clock this evening in the school cafeteria. The Cold Quit lunch that's also done in Chaparral is this Thursday at noon at Cold Quit's Place on Lisa, September 26th, if anybody wants to show up there. The CCDA meeting, which is the Chaparral meeting for the community, is October the 1st at 6 o'clock at Betty McKnight, this coming October the 1st. And then on October the 5th, they're having a hamburger contest that goes from 4 to 9, also in Chaparral. So if anybody's interested. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other commissioners?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you. I did have a question for Mr. Lopez. I know he had talked earlier about meeting with officials from MMC. And just curious, because you commented about what some confusion or questions around what's considered a capital investment. And I guess maybe in future conversations that can be clarified, but to me, it seems like a capital expenditure or a CapEx is defined clearly within GAAP principles that I believe almost every business in that reports their finances follows. And so I think for them to maybe say they're confused, I guess I would have some questions about that and have a better understanding, because I know they've made comments in public, whether that was at the commission or the city council or in other places. So I hope that gets clarified very quickly and it's very clear to them what a capital expenditure should be. But I just wanted to at least point that out. So I don't know when we plan to have additional meetings. Mr. Lopez, do you know?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Sanchez, you have definitely identified one of those key points of disagreement. GAAP does specify what is a capital investment. The question is, should software that GAAP might allow to be a capital investment really count towards an investment in the physical plant of the facility, which we believe is the intent of the lease agreement? Yes, you are absolutely correct. There are going to be a lot of ongoing discussions moving forward. We are expecting within the next week to receive from the City of Las Cruces, once they receive from MMC, the responsive documents to their request last month. And the other issue on how the investments are made, MMC is now using numbers that are a lot more in line with what the commissioners were looking at when the presentation was made before this board. With that said, they are applying credit for single-year investments of, say, $17 million, and then deducting that out across multiple years, rather than meeting that 4 to 5% investment each year. And the terms of the lease are not super specific, but my read as the interim county manager is that it's probably more likely to be a 3-year rolling average than it is a 40-year average. So with that said, the chair was there, and Chair, anything else you think is appropriate to the commissioner's question?
Yes, 100%. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I think we're starting to vogue a little bit beyond what would be allowed on an item that is not published on the agenda.
Is this not an update?
Well, if we're discussing public business, it is subject to the Open Meetings Act. The public may have wanted to come to hear this discussion, but they didn't know because it's not on the agenda.
Gotcha.
A brief update we can get away with, but I think if we start really going into a lot of details, we may have an issue with the Open Meetings Act.
Okay. I'll just end with this comment that we, during the lunch, we did ask that they come to both the city and the county for all future updates to be given to us as a whole, maybe in a joint meeting. And that's where we ended it, where we wanted updates to be given to everyone as a whole. So that's where we ended it. So is that okay, Commissioner Sanchez?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'd just be curious to know what the timeline is for potential updates and meetings. So when we do have that, if that could be provided to the rest of the BOCC, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I believe that we're going to be working on a future date probably within the next few months.
Okay, thank you so much.
Perfect.
I just have one other note, we have some community meetings coming up. We're going to be we have some planned October 9th at 11:30, 11:30 a.m. at the Radium Springs Community Center. And then on October 10th, which is a Thursday, that evening from 6 to 7 p.m. will be at the Doña Community Center on Ledesma. And then on October 17th, we will be out in Garfield. The location it'll be in the evening, 6 to 7 p.m. The location TBD. We've generally had them at the Garfield Elementary, but we're still working on confirming the location. So for the public, especially those out in the northern part of the county, we will get out those notices as soon as we've got that worked out. But again, we'll be looking October 9th, October 10th, and October 17th on getting out into the community for our next round of meetings. So I know that'll be advertised, and we look forward to the community coming out and bringing any questions, concerns they may have. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, as it was stated earlier, the Southern New Mexico Fair is this weekend, and also this weekend is going to be the Southern New Mexico Pride festivities kicking off Wednesday, going all through the weekend and part of next week. So just keep your eyes out for those as well. And I invite everyone to go out to the Pride Parade. It sounds like people have not gone before, so they don't know what to expect. So I think that would be really fun as well. You're all welcome downtown Las Cruces, and it's always a great time. Susie, you'd be the most popular person there if you went. I think so too. Okay, seeing no other comments, we're going to move into presentations, and we do have two today. Our first one is our Mesilla Valley Economic Development Alliance FY24 year-end presentation. Okay. Actually, with that, we are going to take a quick 10-minute break. So we will be back at 10:38. Obviously, I have mental issues. It is 10:39, and we're moving into our Mavita year-end results. Welcome.
Good morning again. Mr. Davin Lopez is going to deliver the presentation, and this is the year-end results for the contract that expired on June 30th. Just so you're all aware, we will be coming back with a new contract for FY 2025. I've already had an opportunity to meet with 3 of you. Thank you so much for your suggestions, your openness, and everything that you've shared. Commissioner Murillo, I know we're meeting Monday, and Commissioner Sanchez, I'm working on that meeting. Come on up.
Thank you. Thank you, Denise, and good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. We're always pleased to be here to present to you our efforts and our results. In this case, it's the year-end results for this past fiscal year, which ended June 30th. Before I begin, I do want to recognize some board members we have in the room, including yourself, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. But we have Lorenzo Alba from Casa de Peregrinos here, and then he's our chair. And then we have Eric Montgomery, our vice chair, who's with El Paso Electric. Also have a couple staff members here. They've joined to support me today before they run off to the governor's conference, which is over the next 2 days in Albuquerque. And that's Jessica Lynn Robles, our Director of Business Development, and Carlos Pata, our Director of Marketing. So thank them for being here. And finally, Elizabeth Teeters, who's a partner in this entire economic development effort we do with the City of Las Cruces, is here today as well somewhere. I saw her earlier. There she is. So thank you for being here. So anyway, I'd like to just start off by talking about who we are. And I know most of you know this already, but I just like to remind really what our mission is. Our mission is really job growth oriented for Doña County. We do it through the creation of economic-based job creation. And we try to instill services and efforts that allow us to be more competitive, especially at the national level, to attract job creation. The other thing that we try to do here is we are a full-service economic development agency. We try to leverage resources. So as a private public sector entity, we have you as a partner, and we're very gracious for that. The City of Las Cruces, the educational systems here, our partners, the Chamber of Commerce. But then we also have about 100 private sector members who provide their expertise and their financial support to help with this cause. So we take that, we leverage that, and we turn that this past year into an over $1.1 million budget. And we need those types of dollars in order to be competitive, to attract businesses to put their capital investment into Doña County. So these are the 4 pillars of services we provide, and I show these as not only a reminder, but they are integrated into the contract we have with you all. The first one is industry attraction. We market very heavily the assets and the opportunities we have to attract a variety of different industries into Doña County. We have a retention and expansion program that is led by Jessica Lynn Robles, who I introduced a little bit earlier today. And that's where we're working with existing companies, not only economic-based companies, but those who have the potential to become economic-based companies, to help them not only grow, but to really retain their business here. We want to always remember that once we attract companies and grow companies, we want to make sure we're not forgetting about them, that we are in front of them trying to understand their challenges for future job creation and growth for themselves going forward. Then the last 2 buckets, which I will talk about, are what we call our economic development advisory and capacity building services. These are really our ability to go out to the marketplace, understand what's taking place in industry, understand the challenges that we're faced against. We are client facing, so we hear the good, the bad, and the ugly of what clients have to say about us. We try to take that and bring it back as a message, not only to you, but the City of Las Cruces or other partners, the educational system, the state of New Mexico, because you and they are the product developers. You set the table to create a stronger opportunity, a business environment, better regulation, better incentives, et cetera, to help companies want to come here and grow as well. So that's our unique relationship I feel we have with each other. And in many cases, where Mavita can, we have built our own services that we have utilized, and I'll talk about those in a second, to help grow those businesses and make us more competitive. So here are our year-end results. The dashboard you are looking at is really our dashboard given to us by our board with all the metrics that are set aside by our board. And you will see that we are measured everything from site visits, that's companies actually on the ground, kicking dirt, visiting Doña County for potential investments. We look at qualified prospects, which is kind of a step up from just lead generation. We're measured on completed projects, jobs created, payroll generated, capital investment, and then the number of retention and expansion consultations we provide to individual companies across the county. You'll see the green line that goes across at the 100% mark. Those were our goals that the board set on staff for the year. And you can see in most cases, we met our requirements. There was a few areas like site visits. We didn't have enough companies on the ground that we had originally expected. But you can see that we made up for it, for example, in capital investment and payroll generated. And then the job creation element, we came very close. But keep in mind, about 2 years ago, we raised that job creation threshold on ourselves. We used to have about 450 job creation goals per year. We set ourselves at 650, just trying to push ourselves a little bit higher and higher. And we came close. We met 628. Off to the left, you will see on top completed projects. Those are companies that we assisted that created those jobs. They are the ones at the end of the day creating the jobs and doing the hiring. And underneath, we have what's called our Automate Up projects. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But those are companies that we supported with helping to grow and scale up their workforce. I'm going to pause there for a second because I know Denise wanted to say a few words about some integration and activity that she's working on that correlate with our efforts and our metrics. Denise.
Thank you. Billy, if you can pull up the screen. So one of the things that I did this year working with Davin and his team in an effort to be very transparent and keep you all informed, working along with our GIS team, we developed a dashboard, and that's what you're seeing in front of you. And what it does, it maps out every single one of the completed projects that were done in fiscal year 2024 by Mavita. We have the different districts. You can select any of the districts. It's going to zero in into your district, and you'll be able to see which projects are located within your district. If you clicked on the little building, there's a pop-up window that will come up, and it will tell you the name of the business, if there was any job creation, or what type of operation it is, when was a project completed. The dashboard, the numbers that you see at the bottom, the capital investment, the total new jobs, and the average wage, we aggregated that information for privacy concerns. So I do have a breakout that I can share privately, but for privacy concerns, because of the companies, you're seeing the aggregated numbers for fiscal year 2024. On the left side, the incentives granted, those are 2 IRBs that you all approve for those companies. That is a clickable link that will pop up the documents that were executed. On the right-hand side, the completed projects, if you click on the link, it will zero in on where the project is located. This is going to be, my goal is to make it a historical dashboard where we're gonna keep building on the projects and everything that we're gonna be recruiting into the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Okay, so as I mentioned, that prior dashboard was the metrics set upon us by our board. However, these are the metrics set within our contract with you directly. And it's much of the same for everything from qualified prospects to jobs and payroll. And this is just to give you an illustration of whether we completed all the aspects in the contracts. And in most cases, we did. We were a little bit short in the we were one short in the number of rural retention and expansion consultations we were able to provide. And then again, going back to jobs, we were short on that number by 22 jobs. But you can see in every other case, we well exceeded what was requested in terms of our agreement with the county. We run impact analysis every year to provide an indication of, what does it all mean if we create 5 jobs versus 1,000, or bring in $100 million in new capital investment versus 10 million. The way I look at it is we try to be good stewards of the dollars, the taxpayer dollars that you provide for this effort. And so I look at it as what type of return on investment we are able to show to you and the taxpayers. So this impact analysis looks at the inputs of jobs created, capital investment, wages, et cetera. It's a third-party software we utilize. It's in-plan data, which is used by universities and economists around the country. And this is just to kind of keep us understanding what resources we're providing and what the give back is. But as you can see on the far left, new local and tax revenues being created is about 6.1 million over the next 5 years based on these projects that we've created. So, and of course, this is all estimated on how fast these companies begin in operation, if they have any delays. For example, Jota. Jota is a complete new construction project, so that takes time before they can actually get to build out. But we look at it as an average over the next 5 years, $6.1 million in new potential tax revenue to local government. We're also showing New Mexico tax revenue, potential tax revenue over the next 5 years of $10 million. We feel that's important because when we go up to Santa Fe every year, we need to talk to our legislators about what we're doing for New Mexico down here and how their reinvestment back into Doña County is important. New school revenues of $3.8 million over the next 5 years because, as you know, they do rely on they're part of the mill rate. They rely on the tax system for their revenue and growth. New community college tax revenues of $556,000 over the next 5 years. And then for our private sector partners, we look at new household spending that should take place in Doña County over the next 5 years, and that would be $106 million in net new household spending. And of course, you know, this is all depictive on whether or not this is traditional data, historical data that's being pulled from. That's if Doña County residents spend the money in the same way that they traditionally spend the money. If people start taking more trips out of state or out of the country, well, then the monies that are created here do leave. And those could change, right? But that's just an estimate based on historical averages. If we look at over the last 5 years in terms of our major metrics, jobs created and capital investment, you can see that in both categories, the past 3 years, we have really excelled in a post-pandemic challenging world. And we are beating our averages that we had per year in both those categories prior to. I think that's an uptick in, number one, the public-private relationship we have, your investment, the city's investment, private sector's investment, and our partnership to grow this effort together. And I think you can see the dividends are paying well. I put this chart up here because one of the biggest challenges we see is how do we extend our reach into more areas geographically in Doña County. We all know it's a big county, very, very rural. It's hard to really attract companies to just locate anywhere. There's lots of infrastructure investment that's required. They usually follow where the infrastructure is already in place, and that becomes challenging. But I will say over the last, probably 10 years, we've had a lot of success in Santa Teresa. It's growing wildly. You all know that. And you can see by these bubbles down at the bottom in Santa Teresa, that is still a growing aspect of where we're seeing projects levitate towards. But you'll see more also taking place in the Las Cruces Industrial Park as well, bringing opportunity more to the central area of the county. But what's also unique is what you're seeing along I-10 in the Vado Barreno area. Prior to about 18 months ago, we rarely were able to push projects into that area. But there's some unique assets that are being kind of discovered now, which include power, a lot of power in that area. A lot of the companies we're working with, even around the country, they're looking to see where the power loads exist so that they can put their facilities in place. A lot of this has to do with technology and manufacturing. But we're seeing a lot of projects with interest in that we never saw before. And I think it's something we need to really keep our eyes on from an economic development strategy for the county. I have had conversations with Mr. Lopez about the opportunity this presents to, we see the dairies going away. And how do we turn an industry that's kind of dying, I don't want to say dying, but going away for us, and turn it into an opportunity where there could be high-skilled manufacturing jobs that could be provided in that area. So we're keeping an eye out and trying to work strategically on what the future of that area might look like. So going back to those 4 pillars, I just want to talk a little bit about what we've done. I'm not going to get into the marketing and industry attraction as much as I might usually, because in June, both Carlos and I provided a pretty in-depth update on what we were doing. But you can see that we're very busy, not only in traditional marketing. We went to 29 trade shows this past year, really trying to talk to companies within target industries, talking about Doña County and the opportunity to grow here. And then, as you heard from Carlos in June, our marketing approach in terms of utilizing social media, digital media in a unique and different way has really expanded our reach into how we communicate with a lot of the decision makers of companies within target industries we're looking at. We did an estimate about how much we actually spent of our $1.1 million budget on marketing and business development related activities. And we looked at it being about $937,000 of our budget that was presented. So I say this because I feel your $300,000 investment in this activity and our ability to leverage it really goes a long way in showcasing, again, what we can do as a public-private partnership. The $1.48 million on the right side of the bottom is what we estimated, because we do almost everything in-house, our in-house production, in-house graphic arts, everything. We looked at if we put that effort out to a third party, we think the value would be about $1.5 million. So that's the extended service we're able to offer by doing it all in-house with the expertise we bring to the table. Our business retention and expansion effort is growing. I show this map as well because we are trying to do a better job of getting to around the county to more rural areas. We consulted with 56 companies this past year, but the most important thing is we are now talking to companies because of services we've put in place, which I'll talk about in a second. But we're actually now not just trying to talk about companies retaining their business. We're talking about companies growing and hiring. And so when you look at new job creation projects identified, that's 18 potential projects of those 56 consultations, or 18 companies of those 56 consultations that we did that said, hey, with a little bit of support in these areas, we probably can do hiring. And that's really what we're trying to do. Again, foster job creation. That leads to potential new jobs of 40 new jobs of those 18 companies in 2024, 2025, with potential capital investment of about $4.1 million. Within our capacity building categories, I will kind of look at these more as an update for the most part. I've been talking about this one for 3 years, where with the support of Community Foundation through a grant that we did through them, we were able to set up what we called a regional closing incentive. And that we did that so that we didn't have to rely 100% on the state for the incentives that they brought to the table, especially the cash incentives. In many cases, the state doesn't really allow that to go to capital equipment. We needed something a little bit more localized, a little bit more flexible. Since the inception of that incentive, we have deployed about $1.1 million in commitments. That has helped support the growth and the expansion of 13 companies in Doña County. In some cases, we participated with the state. In some cases, we did not. But overall, that's the announcement. It led to the announcement of 1,700 new jobs over the past 3 years. We're very proud about that and working on our relationship with the Community Foundation in that endeavor. This past year, we piloted a program where we wanted to upskill the workforce, especially in technology-related fields. So that means like advanced manufacturing, additive manufacturing especially. We received a small grant from the New Mexico Economic Development Department LEADS program. That was $25,000, and with that, we were able to identify users for micro certifications within advanced manufacturing. We were able to put out 159 of them across 8 companies, across 7 different types of certifications, and train 69 individuals, hopefully taking on the new jobs in terms of the advancement of technology that's coming to our manufacturing workforce and even our logistics workforce over the next few years. I'm proud to say, well, we call this Automate Up was the program. We are now in our 2nd year. We have been able to partner for some additional dollars for that, but I'm proud to say that at the governor's conference this week, this program is being recognized as the Economic Development Excellence Award. So we were very happy for that, and I thank all the team that's here and not here for really making that happen. Other things we are working on in terms of, again, finding what our challenges are and trying to figure out how to overcome them. We are now trying to engage in not only in attracting companies to create jobs, but we're looking to attract the developers who bring the capital to build the facilities, to have those facilities available for companies to come in and have their job creation take place. So in that respect, we are right at the beginning time process of piloting a program with the City of Las Cruces, where it is really going after a program to really attract the developer to overcome their challenges of wanting to put that capital into Doña County. A couple of other initiatives are Shovel Ready Initiative, and along with the city, and we've had some conversations with Denise as well, do we have on-site solutions and partnerships that we can start proactively creating to address the infrastructure solutions that we are faced with companies in terms of their site selection decisions. Finally, in terms of the Economic Development Advisory Services, I'm very happy to, and build upon what Jonathan Macias said earlier, to have been part of really the think tank and behind creating the New Mexico Trade Port, and we've enjoyed kind of where it's going next in terms of our relationship with both Jonathan and Denise in that effort. And I think we are going to see a lot of positive awards or rewards for that down the future because of this effort. We are also working with the state's sanitary strategic plan, providing data inputs into decisions that they are making to try to identify new investments by the state for this legislative session. One of the things we are also working on is we understand that infrastructure is a challenge around the state, working directly with the New Mexico IDEA to see if we can push forward the concept of an infrastructure readiness fund at the state level so that we can have ready for projects as they're identifying sites here in Doña County that may fit all the parameters, but the infrastructure just may not be in place, and that might be the only hurdle in terms of the job creation that they could create. Along that lines, in terms of other economic development advisory that we provide, I'm a board member of the New Mexico Partnership, New Mexico IDEA, as well as Endeavor, the Outdoor Recreational Association. We want to make sure that as they're discussing policy and regulation, that they understand our position down here in Doña County and that we have a voice in those state decisions that are being made. I will leave this with a quote. I think it's very current. In July, the Federal Reserve of Dallas, El Paso branch stated, Southern New Mexico demonstrates impressive economic vitality, with the latest employment figures showing 2.8% growth compared to the previous year, outpacing both state and national averages. This growth underscores the region's attractiveness for business and workforce development. I truly believe it's because of this public-private effort that we have that we're seeing the results that maybe the rest of the state and even some parts of the nation are not showing. However, there's a lot of work to be done, and these are my final thoughts. They weren't meant to be an in-depth presentation today on them, but I invite anyone, if you'd like to have some follow-up dialogue, work sessions on any of these, please let me know. But these are things that I'm thinking about. At every presentation I give, I talk about the industry trends that are taking place, especially with onshoring and nearshoring, that I think create a generational opportunity for us. However, I believe we have a short window of opportunity to really take advantage of this. Some say we're in the third inning of a 9-inning game. I've heard some just say we got 5 years. I truly believe we have about a 7 to 10 year window that we have this opportunity before it closes, but there's a lot of work to be done. Milky Way to Power Alley. I kind of just threw that Power Alley term, but everyone knows the Milky Way of the dairy area, right? That's what I talked about earlier, those opportunities that are taking place in that 4,000 acre area from Vado, Barreno down to Anthony along Interstate 10. I think we have an opportunity here, and I think we need to put some time and resources into seeing how we really utilize this as an opportunity to stimulate the economy for not only that part of Doña County, but really kind of a central major thoroughfare that could bring economic rewards for decades to come. The Meta effect, I call it, is opportunities for Chaparral. We all know that Meta announced a major data center taking place in Northeast El Paso, literally on the state line. There are going to be economic opportunities for Chaparral. What those are exactly, I think we need to identify and be in front of. I have had some conversations with Las Lunas. I've wanted to understand better the opportunities that came to them. I've had some opportunities with some of the, to talk with some of the communities in the suburbs of Phoenix with some of the big facilities that they see coming there. Although it may not physically sit in New Mexico, because it's so close, everything from construction opportunities that last 10 to 12 years in this data center environment, all the way to new services and businesses that could be created. I think there's another area we need to dedicate some time and thought process to. And then the big question is, are we ready? I think every year I bring up some degree of need to be more aggressive on different types of incentives. I've had some great conversations with Mr. Lopez again on some of these things, and excited to see kind of the thought process and the acceptance of these types of programs that you would be open to. But I think we have to have deeper conversations on it to say that we don't want to be just first in the state. We want to be first in the Southwest in terms of attracting these opportunities, but we still have a long way to go. So with that, I'll leave it there and try to answer any questions you might have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioners, any follow-up questions, comments, concerns?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chaparro.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lopez, for presenting today. I appreciate you and your staff and the hard work you've done. And after speaking to Denise yesterday, we went back and forth on some ideas. And so thinking about it overnight, I was going to suggest, and I'm looking at my district, of course. That comes first in many cases for me. I understand there's growth in the Santa Teresa and Sunland Park area, and I fully agree with you that we need to focus on that. But when I was looking at my district, I'm thinking of businesses that are ripe for, smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses. If you look at District 4, we're one of the fastest growing districts in the county. I mean, every time I go out there, there's 10 new houses. And I think it's 2 houses that are being constructed, 2 or 3 a week in that area. So we're looking at the Metro Verde, Sonoma Ranch, going up US 70. And so I myself am looking at something like Costco, Trader Joe's, small retail businesses that can go along that corridor so that these residents have service there. And we have the small mom and pop grocery stores where they sell chicharrones and chorizo and things of that nature, but to have a larger grocery store up in that area, I think that would be so useful to the residents there. And I know the city is working very hard on the development in that area. Maybe different franchises. You mentioned different businesses coming into the Santa Teresa area, and I know that you went on a trip to, was it Taiwan, to attract a business here?
Mr.
But
Chairman,
I would
yes.
really like for this commission to be aware of the businesses that you're going after so that we not only know what's coming to our county, but we might be able to help you lure them here or, think of maybe some incentives before you go, because I would like to know if businesses are being contacted before the contact is being made so that this commission is aware of the businesses that you are trying to attract to this area. And just working maybe more closely with the city in bringing development to this area, I think would really help me at least. But thank you for your hard work. I appreciate it.
And Mr. Chairman and Madam Chair, we're always looking to figure out how we can grow with the changing environments and needs of the city, the county as a whole. One of the things I think that's prevented us from doing too much in retail, let's say, is that we've always concentrated on economic-based drivers. Not to say we couldn't, but we see different needs, different changes, that maybe it's worth that conversation to see how Movida can put some resources towards that, because you're not the first I've heard. And it's kind of interesting because in Santa Teresa, it's, it's the same need. We're attracting industry. We're getting good at that. But they also are going to need the services that come with it as well. I had a similar conversation with Sunland Park as well. Why are they not capturing the new GRT, the retail, instead it's going on to the west side of El Paso instead? There's got to be some strategies, but part of those strategies are also what is the business environment that we're setting up for those companies to want to be here. And I know Anthony too. Anthony, Texas seems to get a lot of retail. And why aren't they jumping on this? It's always that big question. What Chinese wall are we putting up that we need to tear down first and then show those enticements? So yes, I agree. And I think it's worth the conversation as a whole to see how Mavita can touch upon those services that are required and growing.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Commissioner Sanchez?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I think one of the things, and I appreciate the presentation, and I'm looking forward to following up with Denise. And I know Denise, I'll reach out to you so we can get some time on the calendar here. But I think is we look at what's going on across the county, and I think one of the things we've got to continue to figure out, and I think as Mr. Lopez kind of talked about when he talked about Meta, is, and I think this is going to be something we have to work with our partners, is how do we look at the infrastructure needs that we have? We can look at some of the Teresa, but we can also look across the entire county where what infrastructure is lacking, where do we need to make investment, and so on. And I know one of the items that we continuously seem to be talking about, and even the city of Las Cruces, is going to be power needs. And how do we get and work with El Paso Electric or find another solution where we can work to address those needs? And I don't know if that even takes us working with the state legislature, because we continue to see this as a conversation. We see issues with the PRC and or the policy that wants to limit the new generation and how that comes about. But in the meantime, as we're working on through all that, we're finding that that's just one piece of infrastructure, but those are the types of things that are going to limit us unless we start figuring out how we work on that. And in the meantime, when we're here in the borderland area and we look at in El Paso County, in Ciudad Juarez, we want to try to find ways that we can encourage companies to come into New Mexico. Obviously, I know as Mr. Macias spoke about earlier about the infrastructure investment into the jet port. Those are the investments I know we're making, but I think we need to continue to have those conversations to figure out what infrastructure is in place, what do we need, and then how do we get those in place that may include us working with our partners in Santa Fe. So I appreciate the presentation. I'm really excited. The dashboard that Denise, you put up earlier, kind of showing the areas of the county, I want to dig into that a little bit more, but appreciate those reports so that we can partner or be able to join that data up with the efforts of Mavita and then further make sure that we are putting our efforts in the right place. So I really appreciate all the efforts, Mr. Lopez, that Mavita is doing. And I'm really looking forward to how we continue to grow our economic development efforts, even internally within the county. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes, I just want to say that Denise, I really like your chart showing the locations in different districts is about the activities going on. Thank you, and I support that. And thank you, Davin, for the presentation.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Davin.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, thank you. And on behalf of my board, we really appreciate the partnership we have and look forward to fruitful efforts going forward. So thank you very much.
Okay, last up, we do have item number 13, Las Cruces Gospel Rescue Mission update. We have the Executive Director, Henry Young. Welcome.
Thank you very much for allowing us to present to you today, Chair, Commissioners. I'm here today because I'm concerned about homelessness, not only at the level which we have at the mission, but city and county-wide, and how we might be able to help in the development of something on a larger scale that will enhance our complete city and county, helping with eliminating some areas that look bad as far as those who may be traveling through our community, and also crime issues that pop up, even though I don't think most of the crime comes from homeless people. It is still an element that should be looked at. So as we get started, there's one thing that a lot of people don't realize in our community and county, and that's who the Gospel Rescue Mission really is. So let me say that in many cases, we are the only shelter in the southern part of the state that has indoor sheltering. No other city across the southern part of the state has any. And we get a lot of people that come in to us from out of town, from Alamogordo, even Roswell, and then some areas to the west. We have people that have come from Deming and other areas. So it's not just from Doña County. Sometimes they stay for a while, sometimes they go on. But here's a common misconception. Many people think that both Community of Hope and the Gospel Rescue Mission are one and the same, just different sections, but that is a false assumption. The entire campus of Community of Hope, which includes 5 entities, excuse me, is owned by the city of Las Cruces, that property, and it's operated through just the Community of Hope. We are totally self-supporting and funded by donors and our stores to a very small extent. So we have been around, give you a quick history. We've been around since 1972. It started with one pastor going out on a street corner and handing out, first of all, coffee, and then he added donuts. Before long, they had a very small area that people could drop into and get some help and some good talking as far as trying to give them some information on where to go and what to do. Then it moved into another building. And then finally, before we bought the property where we currently are, the AA building that is on Alameda and I can't remember the side street, but where that is was owned by the mission for a time and sold to them when they moved in. Our current property was purchased in 1987. The buildings were not able to be put up for monetary reasons until 1992. So all of that shelter and the front admin building were built in 92. So that's the history. Now, what do we do? And I may get this a little bit off, but I guess he left. We have across the street at Casa de Peregrinos as one of the recipients from Roadrunner Food Bank, the state-affiliated food provider. We are the other. Last year, they gave out or received 1.3 million pounds of food to distribute. A little over 1.3. Ours was 905,000 pounds. So together, the two Roadrunner Food Bank facilities did over 2.2 million pounds of food last year in 2023. That's a lot of food that we distribute. So we not only use a little bit of that at the mission, but we have other food banks that come and pick up from us. One of the largest being a church that is out on the East Mesa, which gives out the most food of one small entity in the whole city. And they come and pick up from us on a daily basis. We pick up daily at Sam's Club, at the Rinconada Walmart. Casa de Peregrinos gets the other Walmarts, as well as other small entities also. Now, as a food provider, we not only serve the people that are guests at the mission, but we also feed 3 meals a day at the gate. So we total an average of over 5,000 meals per month that are served, along with that poundage that I just mentioned that is given out to the public. Now we are also a shelter provider. We average between 45 and 50 people per month in our shelter. And it fluctuates some, but it's more consistent now than it was several years ago. We do have, and I won't get into the numbers, but we are able to track everyone that is there, whether they're there for 30 days a month, or whether they are there for 2 or 3 days a month. They are counted. We count the bed nights. We count the individual people. We also count volunteer hours. And many of those volunteer hours that go into the total hours that are volunteered each month come from our guests that are staying with us. Many of them work 4 hours a day, and that goes into the volunteer pool of hours. But we do constantly have that indoor shelter, and I'll get to in a minute some things that we need for that shelter. Since it was built in 1992, it is at an age where there are some upkeep needs that we need to address in a timely manner. We also provide job and life skill training. A lot of the people that come in are trying to better themselves in order to once again become a productive member of society. And we encourage that. When they first come in, we have a follow-up interview from their intake to determine what their skill sets are, what is needed. Sometimes we have to get down to the basics and really determine that they need areas of training if they are going to be able to get a very good job. I have one story that I will give you. There was one lady that came in and said that she was a hard worker anyway, but she was finding herself without a place to live. This has been about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And at that time, she was working 2 jobs part-time. She kept applying. She got an application put in out at the cheese factory, but she didn't have a way to get there. So we provided transportation to and from work for long enough for her to buy a car. And she started, as soon as she got her first paycheck, she was donating money back to the mission for the gas that we expended to take her to and from work. When it came down to the job that she had, which was in quality control, she was making more money than most of the people that are on staff at the mission. But she was able to save up enough money and get a lateral transfer back to her home state and is still doing well. We have other success stories that mimic much of that. Do we have failures? Yes, because all of this group many have mental health and/or substance abuse with their past, and that's the areas that we try to help them overcome, because if they are going to be an asset to our community, they have to be drug and alcohol free, pretty much, in order to keep a job. And they always have needs that we try to meet. We do include the faith element because that really brings everything together, whether it's physical problems, as I just mentioned, drug and alcohol abuse in their past. The faith element helps them bring all of these other parts of their life together, whether it be emotional needs, psychological, things of that nature. With the faith element, that is something that unifies and addresses the entire person. Now, there's other things that we are starting that we will build on in the future, because we do try to have a 2 or 3 year plan in advance. The reason you can't do a 5 or a 10-year plan on some things is because of the rapidly changing makeup of those that are in the mission. Now, if you've gone by recently, you know that we are building new buildings. The construction has stopped on some of it because we are out of funding. We have grants in place, but the grant funding has not come in yet due to the fact that some of it is still pending from the federal government to Roadrunner Food Bank. That's where that grant is coming from when it does finally get to us. But that new growth incorporates a 1,500 square foot building that is out near the street, in which we will then take those meals that are being served to the public that is not staying with us. We still feed them 3 meals a day. We want that building to serve as a place where they can have 3 hot meals a day. And then when the weather is bad, either below 35 degrees or heat, we will allow them to stay there at night with guards. And that would provide shelter also for them, but it would not allow them to come onto the other campus with the regular guests. We also want to meet the needs of our community along with both entities of the homeless population. And we have that availability once that building comes online. The building behind it, we're always parking poor and office poor. That new building is a 7,000 square foot building that would provide more office space. It would provide training area of a large area where we could do both job skill and life skill training that is better suited to even, I've had one guy that has said, I will come in and teach electricity, how to be a beginning electrician. And he's even been approached to maybe teach this in the public schools. So that's a possibility once we get that building up and running, is to have other types of job skill training. Now, what do we need? Here I'm going to ask you for money. We have some things on our old building that I've already mentioned. Over the dormitory areas, primarily we have some leaks. It's a flat roof, and if you're familiar with a flat roof style building with parapets, whether it be a foam roof or just the old style roof that didn't have foam, around the parapet there may be a leak, but you don't know where it's going to show up on the interior of the building. And that's what we are facing right now. Most of our leaks are over the dormitory areas. We need some money, and we can do the work, but we need some money to fund that. That's one thing. I will go back to that small building that is out near the street because I want that done before it gets cold again. And it doesn't look like we're going to make it for this year, but we need approximately $66,000 to finish the hookups for the water and the sewer, plus probably another $5,000 to $10,000 for putting in the heating and cooling. And everything is set on the inside for our fire sprinkler system. So that's in place. It's just connecting with the water and the sewer mainly. So for probably $75,000 to $80,000, we could get that front building totally completed and get a temporary use permit or a conditional use permit until the other one is ready. Then on the back building, under new construction, we probably have about, if the grant from Roadrunner comes in, we would only need probably $100,000 to $200,000 more to finish it. And we would be finished with both of those new buildings. Some other projects that I would like to bring to your attention that you might be able to help us with would be a changeover from swamp coolers to central heating and cooling. When I first grew up in Las Cruces, there was a lot less pavement. There were less trees. We have a lot of lawns, a lot of trees, and the humidity has gone up to the point that swamp coolers are not working the way they used to when I grew up. So that is a big need to get that conversion taken care of. That, I have not even gotten an estimate on what that would take, but it would probably be, I'd say $5,000 to $10,000 right off the bat. Then one last one that is very much needed. Right now, our IT is working well, but there are times when it doesn't, and we need an IT specialist to come in. We don't even have an IT person that works for us on staff. We would need someone to come in and I'd say just completely renovate our IT. And I don't have a good figure for that, but I'll leave those projects with you on your mind, and anything that you could do for us, we would appreciate. But I do want to say once again, I really thank you for the opportunity that you have given us to present this to you. And I would like to work with the county commission, the entire county and city. We've got to do this jointly in order to actually make headway on the homeless situation. So I'll stand for questions. I'm surprised that Shannon didn't ask me anything during the presentation, but I'll stand for questions now.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair. I was going to give Commissioner Reynolds the opportunity to go first. Commissioner?
I have no questions. Actually, I thought you did a very thorough job of explaining the services you provide and the number of people you've seen. I was very impressed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, of course, Commissioner.
Thank you. Henry, thank you for this presentation. And I'd like to say that publicly, you are a gem in this community. In the last 2 or 3 months, I've had the opportunity to come into contact with several people that needed services. And I called Henry, and he was there within 20, 30 minutes. And I know you made a difference in those people's lives. And so I appreciate you taking my call, and I appreciate you helping the folks that I ran into. But most importantly, what I didn't know about this particular organization is that children are being housed on this campus.
Correct.
There's families being housed on this campus, and not just overnight, but we're looking at weeks at a time. And I'm not going to really go into the details of one of the individuals that you helped, Henry, because that's that person's story to tell and your story to tell. But I was shocked that we have families that are living on your campus, which I think is wonderful. But it made me so sad to think that we have toddlers there, but at least they have a place to go. So thank you for that. And I think that maybe in the future, and I don't know the legal, how we're going to get this around legally, but I know you need help. And there's families from Las Cruces that are living on your campus, individuals that are living on your campus. And I had the pleasure of speaking to a few of them, and one of them, and I'll quote, because I know that you're faith-based and I know that you're asking people to participate 4 hours a day, working,
Unless they have a job off campus.
Correct. But one of the participants said, you know, I feel such a sense of pride that I'm being helped, but I'm also helping others.
Right.
And that just really hit me in my heart, because when we help others, it instills in us a sense of pride. So thank you for what you do, and know that I'm inclined to help you with whatever I can.
May I expand on the family portion of that? When that was built in '92, there were approximately twice as many homeless men on the streets nationwide as well as locally than there were women, and not very many families. But the people that did build it had the foresight to put in one large family room, one medium-sized, and 2 small family rooms. The 2 small ones, there was a period of time when we were inundated with families. And if anyone else came, at that time, I was going to have to get very creative on where we were going to put any more families. But as things happen, there's an ebb and flow, especially with the families. We've had one family that had been there for a year and a half. There were 12 in that large room, 12 individuals. It was the mother, her mother, and 10 children, including a newborn. They had trouble finding a house that was large enough, but finally, after that period of time, they found a house. There have been others that had problems, and we would have to get creative even on getting them to school, because some had been in foster care and just given back to a mother. Instead of making them change schools, we figured out a way to drive them to and from school, drop off and pick up for an entire year. That's a lot of time and gas and everything. But because it is so traumatic after coming out of foster care to also make them change schools, we chose not to do that. And those kind of things come up all the time. But I would also like to shout out to my board of directors, who is great, to my staff, as well as everyone who resides at the mission as guests. We don't call them residents because of possible legal matters, so they are guests. Any other questions? I'm sorry.
Any other questions, Commissioner? No?
Mr. Chair, I do have one now.
Yeah.
Henry,
Yes.
what is the tax designation of your organization?
We are 501c3.
Okay. So are you, since you're faith-based, are you affiliated directly with a church?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Commissioners? Seeing none? Thank you, Mr.
For Mr. Nelson, for Mr. Gooden.
For Mr. Gooden?
Mr. Gooden,
We all moved out of the way.
being that they are a faith-based organization, but yet a 501c3, that doesn't limit our ability to provide them help, does it?
Well, we have the same limitations, whether they're faith-based or not. To any 501c3 corporation that we're giving money to, we have anti-donation issues that we have to consider and deal with. There are some cases we are able to overcome those obstacles to provide assistance. There are some that we're not. It's whether or not it's part of the county function. So we would have to look specifically at what our county functions are, what the counties do, trying to, accomplishing, and then look at what their mission is, what they're using the money for. So those are all the things we have to look at to overcome or to deal with the anti-donation provisions that we have. Whether they're faith-based or not faith-based is not really the issue. 501c3 or 501c3 not, that's not really the issue. It's what are they providing and how is it providing a government function that the county would be doing. That's what we have to evaluate and look into.
Thank you, Mr. Gooden. The reason I asked the question is because I don't want the community at large to believe that we're actually donating simply because you're a faith-based organization. I think a faith-based organization would lead to some possible conflicts of interest from what our mission is versus what you're doing. And I appreciate Mr. Gooden's comments and how he put that it really doesn't matter what the organization is. It matters whether or not it meets our requirements as a county to provide support. Okay.
And I appreciate that. I know there is one way, because we can get funding, even federal government funding, especially for the meals and the beds. And I am going to start doing that. For a period of time, we were not taking any tax dollars. But we are at a point, and we're seeing it nationwide, where missions are turning more to a partnership with certain governments. The large cities are partnering with the missions because the missions have been doing it for 200 years almost, if you go back to Europe, where many of the missions were in Europe before they came here. So when you look at that, one that everyone knows about is Salvation Army, that started in Europe and came over. They are actually one of our recipients for the food. They come and pick up food and hand it out too. So they are an authorized Roadrunner Food Bank associate. So, but the way to get around a lot of it is through grants. And even the state could give us a grant.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner?
As, to continue my comments, I would like to have this board direct Mr. Lopez and Mr. Gooden to look into the possibility of us actually funding some of this activity for the mission.
And Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I
Commissioner.
wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Reynolds on that. If there's a way that can be done, because we have to take care of our kids, our homeless kids. There has to be a way to get them shelter and food.
Now, we don't always have families there, but many times we do, when we do have some now.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question of Mr. Young?
Of course.
Henry, that front building that you mentioned needs to be able to be hooked up to water and sewer and has other work done. What would getting that building online do to the number of people you serve? What would you be doing in that building?
It actually would not increase in number because we are serving them at least the food, but it would increase then my statistics for bed nights, because I would add that to it. We would be housing them in a guarded, oversought realm.
So if, correct me if I'm wrong, so if we hit extremely cold temperatures in our area where homeless may be at increased risk, safety-wise due to very low temperatures, this space would provide a location where they could be sheltered.
And they would be heated.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to maybe have this as part of a larger conversation. I mean, I think understanding if this is something that's a possibility, I think that's good information to have. I think we as a county need to start looking and understanding what plans we're going to take to help those that are unhoused. I know we've traditionally worked through low-income housing and Tierra del Sol, and so I would like, this is I think a part of it is, where can we maybe look at potentially putting our funds that can help the community the most, and so I think I'd like to understand, like I think as Commissioner Reynolds has brought up, and what are those potential roadblocks and what are some solutions as we kind of start looking into this, because I know it's something that I think we've had some conversations on, but I think having a better understanding of how does this all tie into kind of the plan that we can start bringing forward to helping those that need housing, whether it's temporarily or then connecting them with state service, state or county agencies that can potentially, or even federal government that can help get them connected to longer term stability. So I hoping we can have that conversation as a county rather than, I know we're talking here specifically with Mr. Young, but I'd love to have the discussion to understand more what else we can do in addition to looking at this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
I think that what Commissioner Sanchez is suggesting would suggest that we probably also should have a work session to discuss these kind of items offline, so we can actually develop some ideas and comments from everyone. So I look forward to a work session to discuss this. In the meantime, though, I think we could certainly directly address the requirements of Mr. Young at this time.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you, Mr. Young. Okay, moving on, we do have the approval of the minutes from the September 10th meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Chaparro, a second by Commissioner Reynolds.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of questions on the minutes.
Okay.
On page number 1, it shows that everyone was in attendance. It also let the record show that Commissioner Chamorro attended at 9:07 and Vice Chair Murillo at 9:22. When you go down to the bottom of the consent agenda, it shows that Commissioner Chaparro was absent and that Commissioner Murillo was not. And the time for the next item was 9:08. So I'm trying to figure out whether Commissioner Murillo actually was online, I guess, when she voted.
Yes,
Okay?
she was.
And should we note that, since there's some confusion as to who was here and who was not and at what time? I think it's confusing in the minutes as to where everyone was when the votes were taken. I don't even know how to rectify this.
Mr. Chair, I was here at 9, the last meeting.
Yeah.
When it started, I was here, first one.
So you were here at 9 instead of 9:22?
Yeah,
I think you were online,
the whole time.
but I don't know when you cut off to come into the building.
She didn't come into the building. She was online
No,
the whole
no,
meeting.
you mean on the minutes for the last, last meeting? I stayed online.
Yeah, she was online the whole meeting
I was-
on the,
But I got online at 9, or a little bit before 9, they accepted me, and I stayed
so
online.
the September 10th meeting, she was virtual the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Vice Chair Murillo was virtual the entire meeting.
I thought you were here in the building because you left early and you asked me to give you the resolutions to sign because you had to leave for an
Yes, but-
appointment.
Now, yes, but I still got online at 9,
Mhm.
and I stayed, and then I came in. Mhm. Like I did today, same thing.
Okay.
So would the record show that, in fact, Murillo was here from the start and not show that she was here at 9:22?
Is that okay, Brandy?
What I could, I feel more comfortable changing it to, yes, and then in person at, because then if somebody were to look at the video, they will not see her here during the
Consent.
roll call. So they, if they're looking at the video, they may question that also.
Okay.
How could she be here, but we don't see her? So I could change the wording on that.
And that's up for the roll call. That would mean that Susie wasn't here for the roll call either at 9:05, but she did arrive later. I don't know which is the best way to do it, that's all.
I did arrive after the meeting started. That is
So, Brandy, on page 1, if you can please, so where it says led by Brandy, yourself, administrative assistant, and it has everyone present, will you please mark Commissioner Chapato as absent? And then it reflects the record where she's attending the meeting at 9:07. So leave the bold sentence, mark her as absent, and then with the let the record reflect. I know, but I understand what he's saying. It's just a technicality. But it also makes me wonder if this has happened many times.
It has happened, this.
This is how you've done it?
Yes, so this is the first
For-
time it's being brought up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I promise I was here.
Yeah, no,
I know
you
you
were here. I remember that.
I was here.
Because you signed the consent agenda. Commissioner Chapato didn't sign any of the resolutions of the consent agenda because she wasn't here to vote on it. I remember that conversation.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes, Commissioner Chapato.
what if we just put me as present but late, arriving at 9:07 with 5 seconds?
Whatever.
That would clarify, I think, a lot of things instead of having to. Mr. Gooden, is that cool?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that sounds fine. I mean, if it's reflecting what occurred, that's fine.
Sounds good. Do we have an amendment?
So I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes to what we just discussed.
Second.
Brandy, you good?
And you said virtual at 9, and then what? Present at 9:22?
Well, it doesn't matter if you're virtual or not. You're present, so I don't think it
Yeah,
matters.
if you're present from before 9, you're good.
But the way she stated it sounded good, you know,
Oh, yeah?
sure did.
I'm good with whatever.
And I apologize, who seconded the motion to amend?
Chaparro.
Are we ready for a roll call?
Do you know what
Yes.
you understand what the fix is?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we're ready.
Okay. Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo?
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez?
Yes, motion carries. Minutes are amended. Now we need to vote on the amended meeting minutes as a whole. Any other further comment? Brandy, go ahead.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo?
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Brandy. Moving on, we do have one hearing and ordinance, which is to adopt the imposing countywide gross receipts taxes and adopt ordinance imposing countywide gross receipts taxes. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tapato and a second by Commissioner Reynolds. Mr. Gooden, you're up. Is that a Hawaiian tie? Is that a Hawaiian tie? Oh. Aloha.
Aloha. All right.
Give me some little Hawaiian cookies.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'm going to go into a lot of detail on this. We did that when we did the authorization to publish. So what we have here are two ordinances. They're basically, I would characterize them as cleanup ordinances rather than anything new imposition of a tax or anything of that nature. As I indicated before, in 2019, there was a change to the statutory language or the statutory scheme for county gross receipts taxes. It took a lot of different increments and collapsed them into one increment that would be countywide, one that would be the county area being the unincorporated areas within the county. So what this does, we have one ordinance that would basically take all of the county-wide gross receipts taxes and put them into one. The maximum allowed by statute without vote of the public is 1%. This is actually less than that. It's 0.96%. Our current amount is 9.37%, and we're making it 9.4 or 0.94%. So there is a very slight increase. And the reason that is because the new statute requires they be in 0.01%, whereas the old statutes required they be in 0.16%. And so correlating those created a very, very minor increase. Similarly to the county area, the amount that could be imposed without an election was a certain amount. If there had already been an election, that would be grandfathered in. So it actually creates a very slight decrease in the county area taxes, but not, again, not significant enough, but I think makes a big difference. So that's what we have here. We talked about it a lot a month ago, and so unless you have any other questions, that's all I have to present today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Gooden. Any questions from the board? Nope. I think we did all of our research on this one, Nelson. I think you should be good. Any public comment on this? Seeing none. Brandy?
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo?
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez?
Yes. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved.
And there are two numbers to that.
Go ahead, Brandy.
352-2024, 353-2024.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, moving on to commission input follow-up. Does any other commissioner have any follow-up input?
Nope.
Seeing none, we'll move on to correspondence. Brandy.
I have TH versus Doña County and Craig Perry versus Doña County.
Wonderful, thank you, Brandy. With that being said, the commission may convene in closed session at this time. Does anyone want to read the closed?
I make a motion that we convene in closed session pursuant to the attorney-client privilege to discuss pending and threatening litigation in the matter of City of Las Cruces et al. Versus United States of America et al. Case number or cause number 217-CV-00809-JCH-GBH as authorized by the Open Meetings Act, Section 1015-1H7, New Mexico State Authorization 1978.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Reynolds and a second by Commissioner Chapato. Brandy, if you'll roll call us on that, please.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo?
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez?
Yes. Motion carries. We are in closed session. Thank you.
let the record show that nothing was discussed in closed session that wasn't approved by the previous original motion.
Wonderful. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, so Brandon, go forward.